Good morning, and thanks and welcome to our traveling Vietnam Memorial Wall. Um, we've had this wall up since Thursday of this week, and we've had wonderful turnout, wonderful support, and we're so thankful. And today tops everything, and we welcome you. I, I want to make a note about the scouts that came. We had a kind of a scout assembly scheduled, and they didn't let us down in an instant. In fact, we had many more than we had expected. They had the opportunity to get a lecture, a little bit about the Vietnam War, inside the auditorium, and hopefully, the scouts, as they leave, they'll take a little bit of that with them and remember it, and it'll put the wall in context. The the Vietnam Traveling Wall that we have is an 80% replica of what is in Washington, D.C. To Vietnam veterans, the wall has become a somber and sacred tribute to the more than 58,000 men and women who gave their lives during the Vietnam War. 58,000, it's a number, and if anybody hasn't lived through it or has studied it, it's a number, it's an abstraction. When you look at the wall, though, it puts it into a real perspective. They're real people. They're not numbers, they're names, and they're going to be remembered forever. Today we commemorate their memories. Let us also not forget those who have passed from their wounds upon returning home and those still unaccounted for. Scores and scores and scores of troops have lost their lives, whether it's because of Agent Orange or other wounds, injuries suffered during combat. So much has been made about the Vietnam Memorial coming to East Brunswick, and it's the focal point of our memorial. But we can't forget there are so many other troops that have given their lives: Afghanistan, Iraq, Benghazi, even recently in Kabul. And we can't let them go unknown. So what I would say is their loss is no less mourned and no less remembered than those who passed because of Vietnam service. Today we commemorate their sacrifices. I want to thank all of our veterans, past and present, for all their sacrifices for this great nation. Thank you. To our Vietnam veterans, welcome home, brothers. In a couple of minutes, we'll start the VFW Post 133's Memorial Day observance. But I wanted to introduce one of our members, and he asked that he could say a few words. His name is Willie Gonzalez, and he served in the Middle East. Please welcome Willie.
How's everybody doing? Thank you for coming in here today. I just want to say a couple of quick words. I am a member of Post 133 in East Brunswick, Commander Tommy Cohill. I also did 3 tours in Iraq. I am here. I just want to say something real quick. If you are a Vietnam veteran, please remain seated. If you are standing and you are a Vietnam veteran, please raise your hand. If you are not a Vietnam veteran, please stand up. Again, if you are not. Ladies and gentlemen, I have now put you in a position to give these men and women a standing ovation. Welcome home, brothers. And for my Girl Scouts over here, I am also a lifetime Girl Scout, believe it or not. One more quick thing. I'm going to talk about PTSD real quick. I joined the Army in 1990 to 1998. I was activated to go to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, 4 months after I enlisted, not knowing that there was a war going on. Once we landed in Saudi Arabia, we were there for 3 weeks at what they call Cobalt Towers. You might know the name because there was a bombing there in 1996 that killed soldiers. While we were there in those towers in 1990, air horns went off when the Scuds and the Patriot missiles went off, and Kuwait and Iraq decided they wanted to fight. To make a long story short, I got out in 98, came back home, didn't think of the Army until 2010. I wasn't in contact with anybody. I didn't wear Army greens. I was just not military for 12 years. When the first Amber Alert came on the cell phones, I threw myself on the floor thinking I was being bombed. And all because of an Amber Alert. If you're going through PTSD, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you have a family member, take care of them. It comes and goes within a second, like what happened to me. So to all my brothers and sisters out there, God bless. Thank you.
Well said.
One more thing to this man on my left. Everything here was an idea that he walked into VFW Post 133 and said, let's bring the wall.
Thank you. Just to add a little bit to what Willie said about PTSD, you got to understand, you have to notice it. Troops, they don't want to give in. You know, your manlyhood is at question if you acknowledge that you have a problem, and they need the help. Whether it's the VA or any of the service officers, for any of the military organizations throughout the state, bring them there, please. At this point, what we're going to do is East Brunswick VFW Post 133 each year holds a Memorial Day observance. Now, we typically do it at the post, but this is the right time and the right place here. I'm going to introduce Commander Tom Kuhel, again, Commander of VFW Post 133.
Thank you for showing up here today. It's a great day for us. God's looking down on us, and hopefully it'll stay like this all day. I want to thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. We did an awful lot of work around here for the last week, and it was hectic. One day it rained real bad, and the rest of the day the sun was cracking the stones out here. So just so you know, so it's all good. And we're glad to be. Everybody is here today. I thank Tony and Willie and all the people that are here today, and I appreciate you all coming. God bless you. Thank you. Memorial. Yeah, I got to put the cheaters on here. Memorial Day isn't just another day of a chance to barbecue. It's a solemn reminder of the sacrifice made by countless men and women answering the call of duty, especially those never returning home. As a Vietnam veteran, I've seen firsthand the true cost of war, the lives lost, and the families forever changed. It's a day to honor their courage, their selfishness, their unwavering commitment to defending our freedom. On Memorial Day, we pause to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice, to reflect on the depths of the gratitude we owe them, and to ensure their memories live on. It's a time to honor not just the fallen, but also the families who bear the weight of their absence. Let's never forget the true meaning of the day of the strive, and to live in a way that honors their legacy every day. Thank you. Officers of the VFW, get ready to do your solemn duty. Comrade Chaplain, will you place a wreath at the wall? Senior Vice. Junior Vice. Officer of the Day. Madam President.
Morning, everyone. I would ask you to please remove your hats for this service. I'll be reading for the missing man table. Those who have served and those are currently serving in the uniformed service of the United States are ever mindful of the sweetness enduring has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who endure and may be still enduring the agony of pain, deprivation, and imprisonment. Before we begin our activities today, we pause to recognize our POWs and MIAs. I call your attention to the small table, which is a place of dignity and honor. It is set for one, symbolizing the fact that members of our armed forces are missing from our ranks. They are referred to as POWs, MIAs. We call them comrades. They're unable to be with their loved ones and families, so we join together to pay humble tribute to them and bear witness to their continuous absence. The table is small, symbolizes the frailty of one prisoner, alone against his or her suppressor. We remember. The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. We remember. The rose in the vase signifies the blood that many have shed and sacrificed to endure our freedom for our beloved United States of America. The rose also reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep faith. We await their return. We remember. The red ribbon on the vase represents the unyielding determination for a proper account for our comrades who are not among us. We remember. A slice of lemon on a plate reminds us of their bitter faith. We remember. The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us of the countless tears of the families as they wait. We remember. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us at this time. We remember. The chair is empty. They are not here. We remember. The candle is a reminder of light of hope, which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors, and to an open arm of a grateful nation. We remember. The American flag reminds us that many of them may never return and have paid the supreme sacrifice to ensure our freedom. We remember. Let us pray to the Supreme Commander that all our comrades will be back with us within our ranks. Let us remember and never forget their sacrifice. May God forever watch over them and protect them and their families. Thank you.
We have the luxury, and I consider it to be a luxury and an opportunity, to have some of the premier military members of the military in New Jersey. One of our past district commanders was National VFW commander, a real tribute. We also have the New Jersey American Legion president, and so some people think that VFWs or American Legions, that they're clubs, and they're not. Okay, they're a collection of people with common interests. They care about this country, they care about our veterans, and they care about seeing that our veterans get the care that they need. As Willie spoke earlier, too many veterans wait too long to get the help they need. I'd like to introduce now Major General Robert Kenny, Robert Kenny, United States Air Force, retired.
Hello, everyone. The first thing I want to do is thank everybody who put this together. Most of all, I want to thank the VFW. Putting this together is an amazing event. And we are so grateful and so thankful to you for doing it, because we remember everyone who died in the service of the country. But this nation didn't do a good job back in the 60s and 70s when it dealt with our Vietnam veterans. And I am glad to see that today we are correcting that mistake, and this is an example of it. And I know how the hard work that goes into everybody from the VFW who did what you did to make this happen. Thank you for doing that. You deserve a round of applause. Magnificent. I want to thank Mayor Cohen, East Brunswick, and the entire council for allowing this to happen every year. This is a wonderful event. I do want to take a moment to thank our scouts. The scouts, that's our future. Everyone who's here, you are our future. We do this for you. Those who sacrificed by not being able to be here did it for you. And I want to thank you for showing up. And I also want to thank all the Scout Masters, all the adults who are our leaders of our future. That's what we need. And thank you for everything that you've done and the sacrifices you made to raise our youth the way they should be raised. And I want to take a moment for you to thank yourselves for participating in today's events. Today is a day that is very special. It is Memorial Day. It is why we are here. There are other times when we celebrate the military. A few weeks ago, the third Saturday in May, we had Armed Forces Day, where we celebrate the active guard and the active reserve who currently wear the uniform of our country, who protect us every day and every night around the world. In November, on November 11th, we celebrate Veterans Day. We celebrate everyone who ever wore the uniform of our country, who paid their dues and did what they had to do all over the world to protect us and our values. But today is the most special and most solemn occasion for members of the military and for members of the United States, because today is a solemn day. Today is a day where we remember those who died in the service of our nation. We forget often that the very first law that was passed by Congress was the oath of office, to protect and to serve and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And throughout our history, from the very first battle at Lexington and Concord in April of 1775 until the 13 Americans that were killed in Kabul at the airport at Abbey Gate, every generation of Americans have sacrificed their youth to protect our freedoms, to honor that oath. And that is what we are here to remember today. There is an old Jewish tradition that talks about death. And it says, in my words, that you actually die twice. There is the time when you die, when your heart stops and you are buried. But the second death is more tragic. It is the time when no one remembers or utters your name. It may be 10 years after you die the first time. It may be 40 years. It may be 400 years. But there comes a time when most people die that second death. It is our solemn pledge that on Memorial Day, we do not allow any of our American service members who died for us and for our youth to be forgotten, to have that second death. The Vietnam Memorial is an example of all the names of the 58,220 Americans who died in that war. Read their names, say their names, and try to remember everyone so that they don't have that second death. Since 1775 up until 2024, 1,354,664 Americans have died in the service of their country. Every single generation has suffered. We remember, of course, the bigger ones, World War II, the American Civil War, World War I, and of course, we remember today especially the Vietnam War. But there were countless other encounters where American service members died that we should never forget. Some we don't even know about. We had one DevGru Special Forces member die in April of 2017 in a place called Yemen. And most of us probably don't even know that. But that was an American who served his country and died to protect our way of living. So here today, we're here to remember those who gave their lives for us. We honor them because we also want to honor their spouses, their husbands and wives, their brothers and sisters, their cousins, their families and their friends that they never got to see again, but we will not forget them. Why do we do that? Because we know there are places in this world that are not free. They are not allowed to live the way they want to live. They're not allowed to pursue the calling that they wish to pursue. They're not allowed to worship in the manner in which they wish to worship. They're not allowed to pursue happiness in the manner which they find to be appropriate for them. They are not allowed to engage in public discourse, debate, and they certainly aren't allowed to disagree with their governments. But we in America are free because of the sacrifices made by our military members. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. There is a quote by Shakespeare that talks about we few, we happy band of brothers. For he that sheds his blood with me today shall be my brother. But one of the things that's most important about that quote is where it says, Their story shall the good man tell his son. We must never forget their story, everyone who gave their lives for us, and we must tell their story. To quote Lincoln, it is our great task that remains before us, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. The Americans we honor today are and were the best of us. We are lucky to be able to remember them today, and we're able to gather today because of the sacrifices that they were made. We know the quote, "There is no greater love than to lay down a life for a friend." So I truly believe that the greatest gift that God ever gave to the United States was our freedom. But that freedom has been earned every generation by those who died in our service. And I also believe that the second greatest gift that God gave to America were our soldiers, our sailors, our Marines, our airmen, and our Coast Guardsmen, and especially those who gave that last full measure of devotion, defending our gift of freedom. May God bless all of them. May God bless all of their families. May God bless our troops. May God bless all of us for never forgetting. And may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
So now we're going to bring up a young lady who deployed several times to the military, still active in the service, Lieutenant Commander Yvonne Zurich.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me here today to join you on this Memorial Day remembrance. It's an honor for me to be here. It's also an honor for me to be here for the Vietnam Wall Memorial Display. Thank you, East Brunswick, Post 133, Tommy, and all of the hardworking men and women who worked tirelessly over the last year to plan this weekend. 3 years after the Civil War ended, on May 5th, 1868, the head of a Union veterans organization established Decoration Day as a time for the nation to decorate the graves of the war dead with flowers. I believe that so long ago, when they designated this time of year as our time to honor the fallen, they didn't know if future generations would continue this tradition. But as we stand here today, I believe they would be so proud. This holiday that we now call Memorial Day, it is a time of renewal and strength, a gratitude for life. After a long winter, please take the time today to walk past each panel and remember and pray for our lost heroes. Remember them, their families, their comrades, soldiers, airmen, Marines, shipmates. We are all comrades. There are over 58,000 names etched on this wall, but there are so many more that came home wounded. Some with visible scars, and so many more with scars and wounds that no one could see. Many still suffer today. We have lost too many of them here at home to the pain they suffered in silence. I also hope that one day you can visit Washington, D.C., where there are beautiful monuments to honor the lost and missing heroes from the Civil War through the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Since 2001, over 7,000 U.S. troops have been lost in Iraq and Afghanistan. And there have been over 53,000 wounded that have come home. For the 34 years that I have been in the Navy, I have heard the words honor, courage, commitment. These are not just words the U.S. Navy wants us to know. They are our core values. We serve with honor, with integrity, and are mindful of the privilege of serving. The courage we must have, the moral and mental strength to do what is right, even when difficult. And we must be committed and loyal to our nation and for the well-being of not just our fellow naval personnel, but for all people. To my fellow veterans here today, may you be proud on this Memorial Day, proud that you have served your country alongside all of the fallen heroes throughout our country's history to protect and preserve the freedom that our Revolutionary War ancestors fought to attain. To the community, on this Memorial Day, I implore of you that we have to find a way as a community, as a nation, as fellow veterans, to embrace the pain of our hurting and wounded servicemen and women, to help them. It is just that we honor all of them, the heroes lost and the wounded, recognizing that our liberties and freedoms as Americans come at a price. Since 1899, the veterans of foreign wars have advocated for the care of veterans and their families. I was found by the post commander of Monroe Township in 2005 after returning from one of my tours in Iraq. At Mendoker's, of all places. He was handing out poppies. Jerry Setzer. I became a life member. In 2019, after returning home from another tour in Iraq, and as he was going into hospice, Jerry asked me to take over the post for him, to carry out his legacy. I am still the post commander today of Monroe Township VFW. Awesome. Very awesome. Because I am committed to our veterans and their families. They need our support now more than ever. Memorial Day is a time to remember and honor all the men and women who have lost their lives in service to our country. It is a day that you can personally honor those fallen heroes that you knew. You can honor them by acknowledging their sacrifice and that you had a privilege of knowing them. I want to close with a quote that I read recently that makes me pause and pray every time I look at our flag. Our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it. May God bless them.
Please stand, everybody. Our veterans, keep your hats on, salute.
Thank you, Tommy. Good morning. I want to thank Tommy. You may not thank him after I'm done singing, but he asked me to come and do the national anthem this morning. But it's especially poignant for me today while my youngest son is serving in Syria. So please keep him in your mind. And Jared, hopefully you and your buddies over in Syria can hear this. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The general said something very poignant earlier, and he said, freedom is not free. And he made the analogy between this great country and so many countries around the world. You can't speak, you can't dance, you can't do anything without some dictator or some overarching power to prevent you from doing that. And it was a great point and a nice segue. I'm going to bring up Liz Toth, who was our past auxiliary commander, and she's going to read a poem that's titled Freedom is Not Free. It was written by Kelly Strong when he was a high school ROTC student in Hempstead, Florida. He wrote this in honor of his father, who was a Marine who had served 2 tours in Vietnam. So I'm going to introduce Liz, and listen to the words. It's more than a poem. It tells a story.
I watched a flag pass by one day. It fluttered in the breeze. A young Marine saluted it, and then he stood at ease. I looked at him in uniform, so young, so tall, so proud. With hair cut square and eyes alert, he stand out in the crowd. I thought how many men like him have fallen through the years. How many have died on foreign soil? How many mothers' tears? How many pilots' planes shot down? How many foxholes were soldiers' graves? No, freedom is not free. I heard the sound of taps one night. When everything was still, I listened to the bugler play and felt a sudden chill. I wondered just how many times that taps had meant amen, when a flag had draped a coffin of a brother or a friend. I thought of all the children, of the mothers and the wives, the fathers, sons and husbands with interrupted lives. I thought about a graveyard at the bottom of the sea, of an unmarked grave in Arlington. No, freedom is not free.
Please stand. We're going to do tabs. Please remove your hats. Military, keep your hats on and salute the flag. Turn hood. That concludes our service for today. Thank you.